Greetings, I am Jayla Allen, a graduating senior from Jacksonville, Florida. If you were to ask me if I felt like fraud was wrong inside of organizations, my answer would be yes. If you were to ask my advisor or one of my colleagues if they felt as though fraud was wrong inside organizations, their answer would also be yes. But I feel as though us as individuals have not been in a predicament where we feel as though we were faced with committing a fraud where we had that was against the organization, that we felt like we really had a huge impact on the organization. For instance, if you were to ask me if I felt as though if I take paper from my job, if I felt like I was committing a fraud, I would say no, because it was just paper. But in my mind, I'm rationalizing it as just paper. What we found is that, and the ATF found that in 2018, over $3.5 trillion was lost from organizations from different types of fraud. This fraud includes pyramid schemes, Ponzi schemes, insurance schemes, just a bunch of different frauds that amounted to over $3.5 trillion. This presentation is to help organizations such as the ones who were affected by this fraud in 2018 to create a culture of honesty and high ethics so that they were able to put in preventive and detective ways to stop fraud. When creating a culture of high ethics and honesty, you need at least the first three factors. These three factors are the following. The first one is hiring honest people. When you're hiring individuals to work for your organization, one of the first steps needed is to verify that the information that they provided on their application and their resume can be confirmed. To say, for instance, that if I say I graduated from Florida A&M University, you can go back and check school records that I am a graduate of Florida A&M University. If I were to say that I hold certain Microsoft special qualifications and specifications, you will be able to pull up that I am specializing in certain fields of Microsoft. But that would be ways that individuals can be those would be steps that an organization can take to make sure that they're hiring honest individuals. The next step would be creating a positive work environment. When creating a positive work environment, it honestly begins with the tone at the top. Not having a manager who is implying that the individual should say as he does and not as he says. So in other words, and having a manager who actually acts the way that he wants his employees to act, with high ethics and honesty, always being truthful in his work, admitting whenever he is wrong, he would be able to expect the same from his employees because he's already acting in such of a way. And then the following is implementing an employee assistance program. An employee assistance program is necessarily used as a whistleblowing program for individuals to go ahead and speak on the fraud in a more quiet way that would be implementing, such as a hotline. But they can also implement employee assistance programs for things such as wellness, addiction, just having somebody to talk to, assessment, those things just to also help. So it's not just for fraud, but in implementing it, it will be a proactive way to stop fraud. And my next point will be eliminating opportunities for fraud to occur inside of the organizations. The first way would be to have a good internal control system. A good internal control system would be considering having a good accounting system, a good control activities, a great monitoring system, and also good communication. All of these will stand in the lines of mostly having an open door policy. When having an open door policy, individuals or employees, they feel as though they can come and talk to their managers about any type of situation, any type of fraud that is going on inside the organization, and also and it be okay for them to talk to them about it. When you also have like things such as the accounting, a good accounting controls, that is also making sure that there is a segregation of authorizations, that there's also an individual, like if one individual is inputting the information, another individual is the in-person reviewing the information, to make sure that everything is done in a way where that if there is something that's going on, there is ways for us to be able to be notified of it without or before it actually becomes bigger fraud than it is. Another way would be to discourage any type of collusion between employees and our vendors, such as saying an employee who has his favorite vendor, we need to be notified if there's a particular reason why we're buying so much of their product and not as much as the next product, to make sure that they're not being gifted or or having some type of incentives for us to just purchase from this one particular buyer and not other ones, because that means that the company isn't being as balanced as it needs to be, and it's also we're not keeping the relationships that we need to have with our other vendors. Another step will be monitoring the employees that we currently have, paying attention to lifestyle changes. For example, one of the movies that we watched this past semester was All the Queen's Horses. And in All the Queen's Horses, it speaks of the city controller who, in the city of Dixie, it was the city controller, and she had all of these award-winning horses and all of these amazing jewels and this beautiful house and all of this land, and nobody knew where she was getting this money from. And she always used to say an ex-husband or a dead relatives, but she really just had millions and millions of dollars. And it came to that she was really just stealing from the city of Dixie. And the problem I feel as though that they had within the city is that she was the only person in charge of these books and in charge of this account. If any other time, she always made, like, she never took vacations. She always made sure that she stayed on top of the books. She knew what was going in, she knew what was going out, and she had this special account that she just would funnel money to, and then other budgets would have to be cut because she was trying to fund her own life. Nobody paid attention to her because they just thought she was this little old comptroller from Dixie who was able to make things, who just had like a lost individual, when she was really sucking out money from the organizations. So the point of this was to make sure that we are really monitoring our employees and watching their different lifestyle changes to ensure that they're not, to notice if there's anything that we notice that they're doing that's above their pay grade. Also implementing an employee hotline for anonymous tips. When she finally was able to get sit on a vacation or decided to take time off, her other employees actually went to the bank and found out, asked for a list of accounts. And when she found out, and she was able to find this other account, and then they could start investigating into the fraud to figure out how much she actually used. And they did not have an employee hotline. She just had to go to her manager, but she was very afraid. So I feel as though if they would have implemented a hotline, then it would have been better for her and easier for her to tell her side of the story, and then the fraud would have been, I guess, disclosed easier. Not even disclosed easier. The fraud would have been able to be told in an easier way, so that way she wasn't so uneasy of wondering, oh, they might turn on me, or maybe I'm not doing this, or maybe like this isn't my business. She was just able to tell her truth. Another really big one I feel was creating an expectation of punishment. When you're creating an expectation of punishment, the way that an individual really feels punished for something that they have done is when they have to tell the people around them or their family members what they have done. For instance, imagine if you as your individual, you lost your job because you were stealing, and you have to go home to your spouse and tell them that you've lost your job because you have been embezzling funds from the company and they're about to press charges on you. This embarrassment moves not just for you, because now you're embarrassed and you've also out of a job. This is not affecting all of your loved ones as well. So if we are enforcing and letting our employees know that they will be punished for this, and remind them of once they are punished, this will be known, like this will be on the news, everybody will know about this, may help them think things a little bit further through during this process. And the final aspect I feel as though that is very important is is also conducting proactive fraud and auditing. This proactive fraud is just like every so often, such as I currently work at a credit union. Every 30 days, my teller drawer is audited. It is audited to make sure that what the system says I'm supposed to have in my drawer is what I currently have in my drawer. This is just a way for us the credit union on a monthly basis, to ensure that the information that I'm putting into the system daily is aligned with what is actually inside of my drawer. This will actually help us. This actually helps in ways of preventing fraud, because we're actually making sure, like, okay, well, we know that this month Jaylee was balanced, but this following month it was off $100, and it's something to be that's a red flag. So maybe the following month I'll be audited twice instead of one time. Lord, excuse me. I'll be audited twice instead of just one time, and then following up that, just to make sure, okay, we need to watch Jayla, like her drawer is lower, and we need to be mindful of everything that's going around. And I feel as though if organizations implement these factors and these tips into their organization, then they will be able to have a culture of honesty and ethics, and also find ways to be preventive and detective in their ways of dealing with fraud. And I hope that they use this. Have a great day.